February 17th, 6:30 p.m.
And I'd like to call the planning commission to order at this time also.
The invocation will be by Planning Commissioner Jennings, followed by pledge of allegiance by myself.
Let's pray. Lord, we thank you for bringing us here tonight and everyone's safe. We pray we all have a safe trip home. Thank you, Lord, for all the blessings you've given us. Thank you for everything you bestowed upon us. Guide us, Lord, as we make decisions tonight best for this county, Lord. We pray for all those who couldn't be here. We pray for all those who need you, Lord. We love you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item is the Board of Supervisors attendance roll call.
Supervisor Riddle.
Here.
Chair Rowland.
Present.
Supervisor Oates.
Present.
Supervisor Witt.
Present.
Supervisor Thompson.
Present.
Vice Chair Smart.
Present.
Supervisor McDowell.
Here.
Supervisor Clayton.
Here.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
I would ask at this time, could we have the roll call for the planning commission?
Commissioner Hughes.
Present.
Chair Giles.
Present.
Commissioner Pierce.
Present.
Vice Chair Jennings.
Present.
Commissioner Watts.
Present.
Commissioner Beard.
Present.
Commissioner Wimbush.
Yeah.
Commissioner Smith-Maggie. Here. Chair, we have a quorum.
Okay, the next item is adoption of agenda for the Board of Supervisors. Are there any additions or changes to our agenda for tonight's meeting?
Yes, there is a request to have an item for closed session. It's a legal matter. Yes, yes.
Okay, and what would that go on? Let me see.
We have it right here.
And I was just wondering what part of it.
I guess,
But the agenda
what did I say? Top
You're asking where should it fall on the agenda?
Yes.
Behind J. So right after the planning commission adjourns, in the item table.
That would be before the next meeting, right?
Correct.
Yes. So we would strike the Board of Supervisors adjourn and move that to 8:08, I guess. Is it a motion to add closed session as item K and the Board of Supervisors adjourn as item L?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, it's been properly seconded by Supervisor Oates and seconded by Supervisor McDowell to make changes as noted in the agenda. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries.
Next would be the planning commission adoption of the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections to our agenda? Are we gonna add that item that was tabled last time?
It's on the agenda already. It's under
Number 4? Oh, okay, I got you, okay.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda as stated.
Second.
Mr. Pierce, made that motion and Mr. Hughes seconded that motion to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed?
The next item,
Mr. Chair,
yes,
sorry, do you need to vote to let this one?
this is a continuation of the last meeting that we did this last meeting. Okay, Board of Supervisors action, Halifax County Public Schools supplemental appropriations request, page 8 through 23. Anyone here to speak in reference to that? Okay. You want to,
I will.
Okay.
The superintendent and the finance director did come to the finance committee. This is a request for federal money that was, the grant came in larger than what was anticipated. This is 100% flow through federal funds that need to be reappropriated to their budget. So it will match the number that they receive. So this request is, doesn't require any revenue from the county. It's a federal program. More funds than anticipated. So the finance committee, did we recommend that, or do we move it to the board with the recommendation?
we moved it to the board because at the time, there was discussion on the amount of whether it required a public hearing or not, and it did not require a public hearing, it would be below 1%.
So that's, does not require a public hearing because it didn't go over 1%. So that's not a forward.
Okay. Is that a motion to approve the, school board budget appropriation
Supplemental appropriation.
supplemental?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Halifax County School Board supplemental appropriation for the federal money as discussed.
Okay. Motion made by Vice Chairman Smart, is that second?
Second.
Second by, Supervisor Oaks. Is there any discussion regarding this matter? Does this require a roll call vote for the amount of money?
No.
Okay. Yeah, well, it's really, it's federal funds. Okay, so, it's been properly motioned by Vice Chairman Smart, second by Supervisor Oaks, to approve the appropriation, for the Halifax County School Board budget. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed likewise. Okay.
Tell the public bid on that.
Okay, oh yes, the sum of all the grants together was $953,000. And that's landed in all. That's in there. Yeah, thank you. And the next item is the presentation for the tourism zone. For the tourism zone is Napoleon, Hamilton, and Bryan Plain, pages 25 and 26.
Mr. Rose, before they come, just a brief overview. So they will be presenting tonight to the both boards. They have requested the county to incorporate a tourism zone within our zoning code. And so we asked the time to come with Mr. Graham to engage the board's interest of putting the zone within our zoning code. So they will pitch to you the reason why and the purpose of putting a tourism zone within our county code. And you have it on page 26 of the
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, planning commission, thank you for allowing me to come and speak today regarding this initiative. My company, or the tourism director, and I have been working to put a zone in place and come to you today. The tourism zones were created by the General Assembly in 2006, giving local boards the authority to create zones within their jurisdictions. Since 2006, there have been 75 tourism zones put in place in 47 different jurisdictions in Virginia. The reason why tourism zones are so important is it allows for incentivizing and helping develop additional tourism-based inventory in our community, such as hotels, sit-down restaurants, outfitters, other tourism-based businesses. And the ordinance that we would like to try to create would be for creation of those type of businesses. It would allow for anybody who has an existing tourism-based business, if they spend $250,000 or more, to qualify for incentives under this program. Or a new business, $500,000. So you're looking at, again, those type of products have become very difficult to build on their own without some incentives to make that worthwhile. Again, one of the things about this too is it also opens up to additional monies from the state for a tourism-based business. Such if you were to have a hotel come in and do a development. What you can do with that, typically hotels are financed by banks at about 60-65%. This creates another opportunity where we can partner for the gap financing. And part of this is the state will pay 1/3 of that gap financing. The locality will use the new monies based on 1% of the sales tax coming from that to help pay a part of the gap financing. And the company itself will pay the third part of that gap financing. It makes it attractive for new development of hotels and restaurant development. You want to add anything to that? Okay, and some of the things we were looking at also mirroring our enterprise zone so that we can take areas where we really want to see tourism-based development out of the enterprise zone and give up those acreage for additional business development in other areas of the county. This allows us to incentivize more area and allow us to grow and develop stronger business and tourism-based business at the same time. Again, this does require also 5 full-time jobs to qualify, so we have to pay at least 100% of the prevailing wage for our area. The things we're looking at is B-poll tax, business license taxes, sliding scale, first year 100% return on investment, then 80%, 60%, 40%, 20%, just like our enterprise zone benefits. Same thing with rebate on furniture, fixtures, and equipment, similar type of benefit. So we're mirroring a lot of the same benefits we have in the enterprise zone, but for a tourism zone for our community. And we actually have a map that really looks at the 58 corridor, the 360 corridor, parts of where VIR are located, and so River Road. Those are some of the main areas we're looking at for this site. At this time, I'll open up for any questions you may have.
You mentioned the 5 positions, permanent positions.
Yes.
Full-time positions.
Yes.
New positions for the county that the county will have to
that the
fund.
Not the county doesn't fund. The company has to have 5 to qualify.
Okay, the company.
Yes.
Okay. That will. And you say it's not a zoning change at all. It's just more of an incentive program. Right?
It's an incentive program that creates an overlay district for the county.
All right. Thank you.
So what does this require of the board?
We have to have, a public hearing for this.
So in essence, if the board has an appetite to engage the zone, we will draft. I think they already drafted the zone language. That will be coming for the boards as a public hearing, engage the public input, and ultimately to get approval from boards to get adopted into law. So the public hearing, a vote by the planning commission, and lastly a vote by the board of supervisors.
So the tourism zone itself is pretty much what y'all may propose or what the public has to say. It's something we'll develop as we go through until we get to the final product for approval, if we decide to do that. Is that correct?
Sure. So we will start with Latonya and Mr. Brown draft. Yeah, they put together. We can take that, if you like it, take it as is. We can put some meat and sauce to it to say if we want to change it up. Ultimately, put it out in the public for public input, public engagement.
May I add, this is a great tool that the state has given us and something that has been around for 20 years and we haven't taken advantage of this opportunity. The town of South Boston has a tourism zone, but we do not.
So tonight, Mr. Rouse, we just need a support from the planning commission to allow us to work with Ms. Hamilton and Ms. Brown, bring a draft back to the planning commission public hearing.
That would be a motion. We need a motion to,
Yes, sir.
to do that. So, do I hear that motion?
So moved.
Mr. Wenders made a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Beard, second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed?
Thank you for your support.
The next item on the presentation is the VDOT, small scale projects.
So Mr. Carson Eckert is here from VDOT to present this, and first to introduce us to their small scale program, but also recommending 5 projects for the community's consideration, driven primarily to improve safety at some problematic intersections within the county.
Good evening, board, Mr. Chair, and both boards. I want to thank you all for your time this evening. Presentation. As stated before, my name is Carson Eckhart. I'm a Lynchburg District Planner here with VDOT for the Lynchburg District. Today I'm going to explain Smart Scale, the program, do a high-level overview of the program, as well as the 5 recommendations for the projects for Smart Scale for Halifax County. That's our overview. We recommend 5 for Halifax County to bring in for pre-application. No decision needs to be made tonight with the board. If the board wants to move forward with these 5 applications by April for the March meeting, we will need to cut that list down from 5 to 4. So if the board wants to move with all 5, we'll have to cut that down to 4 by the March meeting. That doesn't mean we have to submit all 5. We can cut that list down as time goes on. So this presentation will discuss each application and what the recommendation is, as well as introduce Smart Scale as a funding stream. For some of you, this might be the first time hearing the program. It can be rather dense, so I'm going to do a high-level overview of the program and kind of discuss how projects get funded and how they get scored. So for some background context, Smart Scale is an even-year funding program that's maintained by the Office of Intermodal Planning and Investment. It's a lot of words. That's the State Department. I'm going to refer to them as OIP for this presentation. OIP's goal with Smart Scale is to fund the right transportation project with as small of a budget as possible. So each district is given a set of money for their district grant program, and then there's a statewide competition fund called High Priority. And that budget is cut down by every project that's scored until there's no more money left to fund any more projects. And that competition process, that competitive scoring, is done through a data-driven process where there's safety, congestion, and economic development, and a couple of the factors that are then scored, and then those projects are ranked. And then the highest rank get funded, and the lowest ranking, they get funded until the money runs out. Projects include multimodal improvements, safety improvements, operational and transit improvements, and then projects that are not allowed in the program are going to be your maintenance projects, bridge rehabilitation unless it's recommended as it's a safety efficient bridge, or guardrail replacement, those kind of improvements that can be done by the residency. And that's the schedule for Smart Scale. I apologize if the image is a little condensed. It is an even year program, but even that, we are still working on Smart Scale in the odd years. So the program starts March 1st, or that next business day. That's when the program starts. Applications and localities can put in their projects. And then after starting in June is when the full application period starts, where the application materials are refined. It goes all the way till August, where application period closes, and then that next year and a half, the projects get scored, funded, and in January, we get these scores and which projects in the recommended funding scenario. So these are the prerequisites for a smart scale application. First things first, it needs to meet a VTrans midterm need. I want to explain that in the next slide. That's essentially our data set that we're given by the state to determine what improvements we can target at different locations. A VDOT, MPO, or PDC study is also needed to ensure that district staff can support the alternative, as well as they're kept in the loop and included in this process from the beginning. That collaboration is important between the locality and the department. And also they need a project sketch, a cost estimate, as well as a resolution of support, which will come by and that'll come later in that period, probably around June. So we want to target for that. Like I said, no decision needs to be made now, but a decision in June for a resolution of support from the Board of Supervisors is needed to continue these projects on. So what is a VTrans need? I mentioned it before. It's a data set that's created by OIP, the Office of Intermodal Planning and Investment, and it gives us, it breaks down each roadway into segments. In that segment, they have data that allows us to determine what we can submit for that round of smart scale. I use this example of 58 and 751, that Pine Grove Road. That's one of our improvements that we're recommending for this upcoming round. I apologize if that image is also condensed. Those two red boxes are for corridor statewide significance. That's going to be your 58s, your 460s, and your interstates. Those two needs, capacity preservation and safety segment, are listed as yes, meaning that when VDOT or the locality or the PDC looks at this intersection, that is what we can apply for those two needs. So that right turn lane that we are recommending will help with the capacity preservation part, as the trucks that make that right to go to the water bottling plant, they will have now that turn lane and that storage to make that movement without impacting 58. And it also helps with the safety aspect, as that helps resolve any rear end crashes that might appear with the trucks. Just because there is VTrans need doesn't mean that's the only way that we can get a project funded. For example, if there's a safety need at an intersection that is not encapsulated in that VTrans need, I believe it's 3 fatal or serious injury crashes, we can submit what's called a custom safety need at that location and kind of push it in through that avenue. And this is related to just smart scale funding. All the other funding streams have their own different prerequisites. Talking about where the money comes from for smart scale, we have 2 different pots of funding. You have your district grant program, which is going to be where the district-wide competition takes place. These are for your smaller scale projects, like your individual intersection improvements, as well as projects that do not meet the high priority eligibility features. They will go through this district grant program where they will compete with projects within the district. And then that pot of money is chipped away by each funded project until there's nothing left. High priority program is that statewide competition where we're going to be competing with the other VDOT districts. These are going to be for your interchanges, your massive projects on I-81, 95, as well as your regional networks. It must be on a corridor statewide significance or have a regional network VTrans need or be backed by a VDOT study. If it's backed by a VDOT study, it gives that we've been kept in the loop and the process and the study is a regionally significant alternative. So this is the stage of the application process for smart scale that's split into a pre-app and full-app period. Pre-application goes from March 1st to April 1st. Then that follows the next business day. March 1st this year falls on a weekend. So the pre-application period starts March 1st, or March 2nd, apologize. The board and planning commission will need to decide on which 4 applications to continue applying for in the full app period. I mentioned that before, this will have to be done in the March meeting. 1 application needs to be cut in between pre-app and full application as the total application limit goes down from 5 to 4 in between. And then for the full app period, all smart scale documentation, including the board resolution of support, it needs to be signed and sent over to the smart scale portal by July 15th. Pre-app is where all the preliminary information is put into the application, and then full app is where the pre-app materials are refined, finalized, and then included in that final application. And then past August is when that scoring period starts. Speaking of, smart scale scores their projects based on the following categories: safety, congestion, accessibility, and economic development. The other 2, land use and asterisk, land use and environmental with the asterisks. Land use is now a modifier, meaning that rather than being a flat score, it will modify your total score going out on the back end when we get the front of the cards. And environmental also scores that has a negative impact as well. If a project impacts the environmental aspect of it, it can reduce your overall project score. And that map at the bottom there is a breakout of all our MPOs and PDCs in the state of Virginia. This is Halifax as part of the Southside PDC. Each MPO and PDC gets to determine their factor weights, which determines where we as a district focus our projects on, and I'll explain that in the next slide. We are category D, and that breakout essentially dictates to us that safety and economic development are the two primary projects that we look for smart scale. So we target those safety improvements as well as any economic development scores that we can get from BEDP. Doesn't mean we can't apply for congestion or accessibility, it just means that they don't have the brunt of our scoring like safety or economic development will. So for previous rounds of smart scale, through the past 6 years, that smart scale has been a thing. It's been longer than that, but using the past 3 years through a lens. Halifax County has a total of 3 projects funded totaling around $25 million. 3 projects are listed below. Pedestrian improvements in the town of Halifax, a roundabout at 501 and 360. That should be VA 360, not US 360. And then US 501 and Factory Street, the South Boston intersection, that improvement as well. Continuing this strategy, we want to make sure that the projects we recommend are the most competitive for the state as well as for our district. And the 5 projects that we are recommending, we all believe in the BDOT. BDOT internally, we believe that they are competitive projects for this smart scale period. Before I get to those projects, do we have any questions from the boards? I understand it's a lot of data, and it's a lot of data up front, but it's important to know why we picked projects that we picked for smart scale funding. Hearing nothing, I will move on to the first application. The first 3 applications that I'm going to show to you tonight are going to be resubmittals from previous rounds of smart scale. So this is that turn lane project I recommended, or I showed before in the V-Trans needs section. It was a resubmittal from round 6. It scored 7 out of 12 in our district last round, so it was in the bottom half. For the V-Trans needs, it's targeting capacity preservation and safety improvements. And the project is to simply build a right turn lane onto 751 to help with the truck movement. No crashes at the intersection itself from 2021 to 2025. And as a note, all of the concept sketches are not final. When the project gets scored and funded, it will go through our design period, where the concept sketch is subject to change based on the more in-depth review that they do during that period. Moving next is the Sinai Road pedestrian project. This was a resubmittal as well, targeting the district grant funding pot. It scored 12 out of 12 in the district, so it was in the last slot, and it is mostly targeting the urban development area needs for sidewalk and pedestrian improvements from West Side Drive to Sunny Quick Shop. No pedestrian crashes reported in this segment of improvement from 2021 to 2025. And this concept sketch is only showing the improvement by West Side Drive, but it continues all the way down to the, I believe, the grocery store that is by Greens Folly. The third application is the turn lane improvements at US 501 and Greens Folly. This is changing the intersection configurations to allow for dual lefts onto Greens Folly Road, as well as you are widening Greens Folly Road to allow for both left turn and right turn lane movement onto 501. That's going to require a little bit of widening of Greens Folly Road. So during that design period, we will determine that widening and how that's going to play out. That's been discussions internally about which side we're going to end up leaning on. And that golf course, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that golf course is not in use at the moment. So we would want to focus shifting over towards that golf course rather than take the right away from the homes on the other side.
Yeah, it's still in use.
It's still in use? Okay, I
It doesn't
apologize.
look like it some days, but it is.
Okay, I apologize for that. But we will still try to lean towards that rather than taking the property from the homeowners on the other side of the road. And crashes at this time, you have 2 severe injury crashes as well as 15 minor injury crashes, and this concept sketch is not final. There will also be some signal modifications at this intersection as well to accommodate for the dual lefts movements onto Greens Folly. These next 2 projects are going to be newly submitted projects that we recommend. They're from our 2021 South Boston and Town of Halifax Safety and Operations Study that we looked at numerous intersections within both localities. This is going to be a roundabout recommendation at Sinai Road and Mountain Road. This uses the UDA needs, the safety improvement needs, and it's going to convert this intersection to a single lane roundabout. And as you can see here, there's a little more crashes. There's 1 severe injury crash, 5 minor injury crashes, and 3 suspected injuries. All of these crashes are taken into the smart scale system and go into the safety scoring aspect of that funding stream. And I want to stress again that this is not a final image sketch of what the roundabout's going to look like, and it's subject to change as we go through this smart scale period, and if it gets funded into the design period as well. And then that final recommendation here for Act 5 is going to be a roundabout improvement at Sinai Road and Greens Folly Road. This will tie into that pedestrian project. If both of those get funded, there will be a natural tie-in to the roundabout there, and it's going to be converting Sinai Road and Greens Folly Road into a single lane roundabout. Significantly more crashes here than Mountain Road. Want to make note of that: 2 severe injury, 6 minor injury, and 4 suspected injury. So this is a slide of why smart scale kind of tends to lean towards roundabouts, and from a VDOT perspective, I can provide some of my planning information as to why we recommend roundabouts at some intersections. It's going to have less conflict points than your traditional intersection. I believe if it's a 4-leg intersection, it cuts it in half. Your conflict points, which is the points at which you can get into a potential accident based on movements. Your delay at a roundabout is going to be significantly lower than at a signalized or unsignalized intersection. I believe, based on data, it's going to sit around 8 seconds of delay for your roundabouts. Your roundabouts will lower your roadway speeds. There's going to be advanced signage letting people know that there's a roundabout incoming, and that will naturally lower the speeds as you get to that yield condition. And they're primarily useful at intersections with high volumes of angle crashes. Every single crash at Greens Folly that was listed in the previous slide were angle crashes, and it will reduce that crash rate most significantly out of the other improvements that we found in that study. And then there's a link at the bottom there with more information, VDOT's homepage about roundabouts as well. As I said, there's no board motion that needs to be made tonight, but if the board wants to move with all 5 applications in March, we can make that determination of which projects we want to move forward into the smart scale program. And if we pick 5, which one has to inevitably hit that bottom of the tier? Because the county will have to prioritize their applications, and then that last one will get removed out of the program. There's my contact information over there with my email as well. If you have any questions, please email me. If I don't have the answer to your question, I will find someone who has the answer. We can help with any of your issues and needs as the transportation world relates to. Are there any questions as of now?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Do we have to choose all 5 projects?
No, we don't need to choose all 5. If there's one that you do not like in that March meeting, we can go with 3, we can go with 2, or if the board is really stuck on one alternative, we can just submit that one. We don't need to submit all 5.
And the reason I'm asking is in between those 2 roundabouts,
Mm-hmm.
there's a major logging company for us. So unless your roundabout will go to April,
They'll be able to make that.
so
Yes, sir.
it's going to be helpful for a logging truck.
Yeah, all our roundabouts are able to make that. The type of classification we use for those trucks, they'll be able to make those turns.
The boards need to make the recommendation in March of this year.
Yes, sir. The application, the pre-application deadline is April 1st, and by that April 1st deadline, we need to submit the 4 that we want to continue to full app.
So Carson, just for clarity, if the board found one project more than $40, would they be more attractable to taking 2 instead of 5? Do you submitting 5 projects that may not get funded at all?
Yes, sir. We don't need to submit all 5. We don't need to submit, we can submit as many as the board is comfortable with submitting. You can go with the 3 resubmittals that we're into round 6. If that's what the board's most comfortable with, we can do a mix match of the 2. It doesn't need to be all 5. It can be as many as the board is comfortable with.
Does that influence your all's decision on which one you do?
VDOT supports every single project that's on that list. Every project that's on there, we have vetted and we have approved internally that we think all of those will be successful in smart scale.
Have y'all increased the wideness of these roundabouts any?
When that gets into the design period, that's something that will be discussed. But these are just preliminary sketches, and it's preliminary planning for smart scale. It doesn't get into that design period of how wide the roundabout is going to be or where the configuration is going to end up.
As I drive, and it's a big Charlotte has a lot of them, but
They're tight.
Yes, sir. We can be pretty tight. We'll make sure when the project gets funded and then when it goes into design, we'll make sure that it's accounted for the vehicle traffic that comes into those intersections as well as what primary uses take that corridor. So for example, that other one, if the trucks are the predominant movement, we'll make sure that we edit the roundabout configuration accordingly to that truck movement.
There will be some taking of some land, though, is that right?
There will be, yes, sir. That's a part of the program. It's something that's baked in. The right-of-way phase goes in after preliminary engineering, and that's where we do that process. I can't speak on that because that's not my wheelhouse. But if you have any questions about that process, I can get it to the right people involved.
Carson, one other question too. So the board needs to make a recommendation for the April submission. Can you address or talk to at what point in time the public will have an opportunity to engage?
The public, if they're in, I don't know how it works at the county, but that March meeting could be a public hearing if the public has any comments. That's fine with us. It should be an open and transparent process with Smart Scale. So if that wants to turn into a public hearing, I'm fine with doing another presentation.
Well, will the state have a public hearing in Lynchburg?
When the projects get scored and funded, we will do a 6-year improvement plan public hearing in the spring. I want to thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, the public hearing, so, zoning administrator, the overview.
Sure, Mr. Chair, so our first public hearing tonight is for a public hearing to amend section 53-383, M2 industrial building height. And we're proposing to increase the building height from 50 feet to 80 feet in the industrial zoning identified by Halifax County along with the Industrial Development Authority. So this is just increasing the height from 50 feet to 80 feet and 120 feet in the industrial zoning. As you know, this came about with Hitachi new plant expansion. They had to come in and apply for a increase in the building height for the new plant expansion in Hitachi. So this is just being a proactive approach to go ahead and increase our ordinance as we want to attract more business to the county, as Mr. Brian Brown reached out to different industries to come. So this is to be proactive, changing our ordinance to increase our building height from what we have to a more approachable approach. So this time, we could open the public hearing, Mr. Grouse, to engage citizen input before we make a decision on the application, well, on the ordinance amendment.
Okay. The planning commission would open up the public hearing.
Board of Supervisors opens the public hearing. The floor is now open for public comment.
Is there anyone speaking in favor?
Again, just to say one more time, I'm Brian Brown from the Halifax Industrial Development Authority. Our board does support this initiative.
Anyone else speaking in favor? Seeing no one, is there anyone speaking against? Anyone speaking against? Seeing no one approach the mic, we could move that we close the public hearing.
Okay, your Board of Supervisors closes the public hearing.
I have a question for Dick. If you have, explain the difference in the 50 to 80 and the 120 number you have in there. What is it? What does that mean exactly?
So the 50 foot, that's what's currently in our ordinance now, the 50 foot. So you can build a building in the industrial zoning up to 50 foot of height currently. This increase would take it to 80 foot. We can go to 120 in areas identified as Hitachi is in our industrial zoning areas. We have Hitachi, the Prestos, the Dollar General. So those are in areas in our industrial zone, they can be up to 120. And those zones are identified by you, at the county, everybody, also with the IDA.
Deacon, I'll ask you, I'm not sure if the VDOT man knows, but that crossover right there for Hitachi, is there any funds will be available to, it really needs to be cut down because.
So I believe, Carson, that is part, we'll be in discussion to increase that. You can speak on that, Carson, if you'd like to speak on that. I believe there's some discussion on that, Mr. McDowell, on that.
We currently have a 58 study going in through our STARS program that's looking at the intersection of 5851, taking it all the way down to Commerce Lane. That is something we're discussing, and we'll be looking to have a public hearing later on in the year discussing those changes and those improvements that we're recommending for an upcoming round of Smart Scale. Not this one, but it will be for the next one going forward.
And my understanding is that the transfer they're building now is so big that they can't use 58 to transport them. So they're looking for a different route to get those big transformers out on the highway.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, yes, the next one is the Halifax County 2017, 2037 comprehensive plan update.
So just real brief, so every 5 years, state law requires county to update our comp plan. Our comp plan is a guide for our boards to encourage growth in our county. So over the last year, we've had meetings, our comp plan committee meetings, to engage our public input, to engage our governing officials' input. So we have updated our comp plan for the next 5 years. Has been advertised in the paper, it's been on our county website for view of our public. So tonight, we would like to engage input from the public and receive adoption from our planning commission to adopt our updated comp plan. Mr. Ross, we're ready for public hearing. If there's no questions or comments, the board.
The planning commission would open the public hearing at this time.
The board of supervisors opens the public hearing at this time.
Is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of the comprehensive plan update? Seeing no one approach the mic, is there anyone that would like to speak against the comprehensive plan update? Seeing no one approach the mic, we would move that the public hearing be closed at this time.
The board of supervisors closed the public hearing at this time. The next item is conditional use permit, application for the election district, number 8. Gage, if you'll give overview.
Sure. This is an application submitted by Mr. Jamal Farrell. Mr. Farrell lives located at 4226 Brewers Farrell Road. Mr. Farrell applies for the application to operate Southern Woods Auto, which will sell cars, trucks, trailers, and motorcycles. This is Mr. Farrell's current residence where he resides, he lives at. VDOT has inspected Mr. Farrell's interest and approved his interest for commercial business for 50 vehicles per day and less. We have provided Mr. Farrell's site conditions to comply with for the business. Mr. Farrell is present tonight, so we will allow him to come and to present and to answer any questions before we open. Mr. Farrell.
All right. Good evening. All right. Kind of nervous, but I'm gonna get through it. So good evening. I hope everyone's doing well tonight. I'm here to express my intent and explain the importance of opening and used dealership in my community. Reliable transportation is a necessity for families and individuals to maintain employment, attend school, access healthcare, and manage daily responsibilities. Unfortunately, many people struggle to find affordable, dependable vehicles due to limited inventory, high prices, lack of financial options. My goal is opening a used car dealership is to help bridge the gap to provide quality pre-owned vehicles at fair prices while offering honest service and customer-focused solutions. Opening this dealership will also allow me to contribute positively to the local economy. The business will create employment opportunities, support nearby vendors, service providers, and generate local tax revenue. Beyond economic impact, I am committed to building trust with the community by operating this operating with transparency, integrity, and strong emphasis on customer satisfaction. On a personal level, this business represented an opportunity for long-term stability and growth for my family. I am motivated to build something sustainable that reflects strong work ethic, accountability, and community involvement. With careful planning, responsible management, and dedication, I believe this dealership can become a dependable resource for local residents seeking affordable transportation. Opening a used car dealership is important because it meets real community need, stimulates local economic activity, and provides a pathway for entrepreneurship and financial dependence. I am confident this business will serve customers with professionalism while contributing positively to the area. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Any questions? Move forward.
I have a question.
Okay.
You requested to be open till midnight?
No.
Okay. That's right, how I read it in the.
No.
It's like this.
No, I don't want to do this. No, I don't want midnight. I don't want to work that long.
Okay.
No, I won't work that long.
I think it's one of the conditions that that's.
So his condition says he limited to 7 a.m. to 12 a.m. Monday through Saturday, with no Sunday operation. So he got a wide range there that he can stay open, but.
Yeah.
So he'd be able to be open till midnight?
Technically.
But I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, so Mr. Watts, to your point, we would like to put a time, 8 to 5, whatever you think is appropriate, we can add that, but this is just a normal condition we put in, just to eliminate Sunday's operations.
I was just curious if the public surrounding your proposed business would be aware of, being able to be open till midnight.
No, they're not, but I'm not gonna be open to it.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's something we can add, we can change that condition. I don't know what's appropriate, 8 to 7, 8 to 5, I don't know what your business hours.
I'd probably just say 87, something like that. No more than that.
So when we vote an application, we can amend that condition when we get ready to vote on the application.
Is there are you doing any type of business there now? Is it a shop or anything there?
Yeah, I run a, well, it's not a business there. I mean, I got a construction business or whatnot. So I park some of like the heavy equipment, stuff like that. But we're planning to, if it get approved, to kind of widen that, kind of separate the two.
All the cars would be functional, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Oh,
this isn't the,
yes, most definitely.
okay.
I have a good vision. It's gonna work out.
Okay.
Are there any other questions from the commission?
There's no more questions, thank you, Jamal.
No, thank y'all.
Yeah, the board of supervisors opens a public hearing.
The planning commission would like to open the public hearing also. At this time, is there anybody that would like to speak in favor? No one? Is there anyone that would like to speak against the conditional use permit? I would move that the public comment be closed.
The board of supervisors close the public hearing.
the minutes, January 20th meeting, in your binder, pages 191, 198, we have a motion to approve those minutes. Motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second? Mr. Hughes made a motion, and second. All in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Those minutes are approved. Are we gonna discuss the one that was tabled?
At the end, we go through.
So we're gonna vote on these now. So the first one that we're gonna vote on is the proposed amendment to increase the building height in M2 from 50 to 80 foot. Is there any discussion on that from the commission? Hearing no discussion, do we have a motion to recommend that amendment to the board?
I should move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Our second item vote on tonight is the recommendation to the updated comprehensive plan. Is there any discussion on that?
Do we need to vote on
Yeah, we need to vote to, it's on page 52. Let's see what action we need to take. On page 52 in our binder. We would entertain such a motion if someone would like to make it.
I'll move that the Halifax County Planning Commission recommend the Board of Supervisors to adopt the updated comprehensive plan as presented, and consistent with the health, safety, and welfare of the community.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of making that recommendation, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? That recommendation passed. The last one is the one we just heard from Mr. Furl on the conditional use permit. That is in election district 6. So I'm sorry. I was on the wrong road.
So, Mr. for clarity, so Mr. Watt, did you want to change the condition on the hours of operation? Is that a concern that needs to be?
I was thinking 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. versus 12 a.m.
So it's Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m.
I move to recommend the Board of Supervisors that the Halifax County Planning Commission approve additional use permit for Mr. Lamar Furl to operate Southern Wood Auto LLC at
22-26. With the 16 proposed site addition.
You've heard the motion, is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Hughes, second that motion. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? That is approved, recommended to the board.
Mr. Brown, last month we tabled a application for a cell tower in District 1, in the East District. There was some concern on the location of the proposed tower at the intersection of Bradley Creek Road and I believe Eagle Pond Road. There was some concern of the proximity of the tower and the existing towers around the proposed site. So Tom, from Wellington Mother, did do an inventory that you have in front of you of what's existing around the proposed site. So Tom is going to present some further information before we vote on this tower and to answer any questions that the board may have.
Good evening, I'm Tom Johnson with the law firm of Williams Mullin at 301 Fayetteville Street, Suite 1700 in Raleigh. I'm here on behalf of Verizon. And I wanted to address, as Dietrich said, address some of the questions that came up last time. So I have a little slideshow that helps go through those questions that arose at the last meeting. Go ahead and I'll come back to this. The location we're proposing for this tower is the top circle. The one at the bottom, the circle at the bottom, is an existing SBA tower that Verizon's not located on, but then just below that is an existing tower that Verizon is already on. The problem with the SBA tower are a couple of fold. Number one, the SBA tower, it's not less than a mile, it's about a mile from the existing on-air site, which is Crystal Hill, which was the one further to the south. The ground elevation of the SBA tower is at 500 feet. It's 70 feet lower than the proposed location. So therefore, the SBA tower will provide the same level of coverage that Verizon needs on Highway 501 at this location. The tower needs to be more equidistant between the two. And if you get two locations that are close to one another, there can be interference. It becomes a challenge to interfere, but the biggest thing is it's lower, it's too close to the existing tower, and it's not meeting the goal of covering further to the north that the site does. And this is just another view of those sites. There's one to the north. These are all the Verizon sites. Actually, this next slide, these are within 5 miles. This does a better job. All the yellow sites with the yellow pin on them are sites that Verizon is already on in the area. The SBA tower is in blue. It's too close to the one on the South Crystal Hill, and it's in a hole. The proposed site is the red pin, and that is the closest equidistance between the two. It's about 5.5 miles between the Crystal Hill site to the south and what's called the Old Road site to the north. And this tower is pretty close to halfway between those two sites. So that's why Verizon needs it at this location. And there really aren't any other opportunities to locate on an existing tower, which I know was some big question that was raised last time. There was also the question raised about the environmental effects of radio frequency. I just wanted to bring this up and remind the board that's governed by the federal government. A tower can't be denied for purposes of our radio frequency emissions as long as the tower complies with FAA rules, and this tower will comply with FAA rules. So that is not even a question that this board can consider based upon the federal law. Also, there was a concern about impact on property values in the area. I think you have in your packet, I sent a letter from an appraiser who took a look at that question and has looked at hundreds of towers. And he said in this situation, based upon what he found, his professional judgment is that the proposed tower will not substantially injure the land or residential property values from the visual impact of the tower. And he goes through and he has some examples in there where he's actually done studies in an area where you take the properties that can see the tower, you take them that won't, you analyze the values and compare them. And his analysis in situations very similar to this was there was no impact of the tower. Those that saw the tower and those that didn't, there was no impact on property values. And so I did clean that up and have that. So I think that answers most of the questions that came up last time. I am here to answer any other questions the board may have.
This tower, will it be available for the fire department, or, if they need that tower?
Yes. Yes. Well, I think we've had that discussion before, and yes, it will be available. It just can't be a condition of the approval, but it is available.
I have a question. Other than coverage, how do we go about determining whether the tower is needed? And I guess the reason I'm asking, so I live in the area, and from right there, literally mini market, which you see Crystal Hill Tower, there's 5 towers then down through there.
Well, Verizon did an analysis and determined that they need an additional tower here. It's all likelihood simply coverage in this area. In denser areas, it may be capacity as well. That is, the other towers have reached their capacity of coverage, their equipment capacity, so you need new towers when that happens. But in this case, this is just simply coverage in between those 2 existing sites. And the way the state law is written, that business decision by Verizon is not part of this board's consideration either. Those business decisions under the state law are up to Verizon when they come forward with those decisions and make that analysis and determine the need for the tower.
Okay. Because I'm just curious, I drive from Bowlins to Roxborough every day, and we don't have that many towers on 501 from Riverdale to Roxborough. So why do we have that many? Just my concern in probably 8 mile radius, or 8 mile total from Liberty Mini Market to this Canada.
Well, and again, I can't explain why they have it on the bill plan over there. I'm sure that'll be a place where they would look at in the future. But Verizon took a look at this location and saw the need. And it's a combination of factors. It may be customer-driven complaints. It's, just when they look at their build plan and look at the future needs here, when it's on a major highway. As you mentioned, there may be a need for some more in that other areas on 501 that need to be covered. But that's where those factors come into play.
I think that's the issue, is that there's so many right on 501. I think a better site would be away from 501 to where it wouldn't be seen, because I do know that, yes, a lot of people, going from the town of Halifax up to Bowlins, it's like a new tower every several miles, and I think that's the thing, is the site people see it.
Understood, and that's why your ordinance has, and what we've done here is this tower is being put in the woods. So it's going to be surrounded by existing vegetation to cover it. Obviously, you can't cover it because it's going to be above the trees, and it has to be above the trees in order to serve its purpose. And not all the towers here are on 501. If you look to the one to the upper left, it's called Cody Road. That's not on the highway. But granted, there are many objectives for these things. Local coverage, but also coverage for the traveling public, and so that nobody has an issue when they have their phone about reaching 911 if they need help. And that's the key point here, is you need to have that access to be able to reach 911, and Verizon is looking at improving, and this is in the first site I've been up here in front of you for in Halifax County, is Verizon's budgeted that money to be able to improve your service and the service to those that not only live here, but travel here. And there is an advantage here that this is, on pretty high ground, so it'll cover more of an area outside of 501 because of that.
Is there a limit to towers or put out a notice? Can you up the notice on the tower, whatever, for signal?
You can adjust the signal, or there are tweaks they can do to the signal on the various towers. They can do that. I don't know, I guess what is your question related to them? I mean, they can change it within parameters. You can't exceed FCC limits, so we can't, have it too powerful.
And once they change the voltage on the towers, that you wouldn't have to put up as many towers. You can.
Again, given the constraints of the current FCC rules and where we are with that, and I think we had this discussion last time, these towers need to be approximately 3 miles apart in order to create the coverage that you need. And that's what Verizon's looking for. So that it's seamless coverage, you don't drop calls between towers, and height can make a difference. Not as much power, but height can make a difference. But I think your ordinance limits it to 199, and we do it that way so it doesn't have to be lighted, to create less of a problem for the neighbors and not having to be lighted, especially at night. So this tower will not have to be lighted.
Now, we'll have to say, some form called out guidance concerning this. It's been in the community of people being in opposition of it. And of course, my first question to them, do y'all have service? And of course, they tell me yes, so they're in opposition of the tower. And so I just wanted to just lay that out there. So, we're all considering a lot of towers like in that short span of 501.
Have you noticed, when you drive there every day, have you noticed a drop?
Not for me, that's not. Yeah. So I just relay it back with people in the community that are looking for. And plus, with my own service, I don't lose service.
Well, all I can point out is we had one party speak in opposition, so it's not like we had a lot of people coming up here. And, I also say that Verizon plans just like anybody else does. You do for your water and your sewer and everything. May not plan for the way it is today, but they also plan for the way it's going to be in the future, and future traffic, and those kind of issues that come up. And at a given point in time, you can have issues with the site, especially if emergencies happen. So say, for instance, I don't know, this area is subject to flooding, but whatever, in an area that's subject to flooding, and in some of the parts, say in western North Carolina, that had flooding issues, the towers get overwhelmed when so many people are using the service. And so you do plan in some capacity there to be able to be available when an emergency happens. I know personally, there was an earthquake up near Richmond that we felt in Raleigh several years ago. I could not get a call. There were so many people using the phone in the event of that emergency. You might be able to get text messages out because they don't use the bandwidth that phone calls do, but we couldn't get calls out during that event. So there's some of that involved too. So day in and day out, at a given point in time, your coverage may be fine, but other events that can happen, you have to plan for those. And that's part of that process. And the goal of Verizon here is to, improve the service to the community. That's what this is all about, is improving the service. And there's been a commitment to Halifax County, which for you folks is great. That Verizon made that commitment.
And what's the height on this side?
199 feet.
Does it have to be lit?
Those might have to be lit.
And the tallest tower in the Halifax County is 200 feet?
So 199 is our max, 200 feet is our max.
I mean, just me looking at the county, almost all of them are lit.
Yeah, I don't know why those are lit, but 109, below 200. FAA stuff, if you're really near an airport, they're required to be lighted if it's below 200. But in this instance, we don't anticipate that at all as being a reason. So if it's under 200 feet, it does not have to be lighted. Now, if you've got something over, this is a monopole tower, which is the single pole. if you see some of the lattice towers, they're generally taller, and that's why you see lights on those. They're generally taller towers, because monopoles, it becomes more difficult and expensive to build them taller than 200 feet. I mean, you can, I've seen them go to 250, but it's, at that point, financially cheaper to go with a lattice tower. But since your ordinance limits us to 199 and wants monopoles, that's what we're doing the single pole, limiting it to 199, and as the ordinance requires.
In terms of clarity, the tower is 195 with a 4 foot.
Well, it's a 4, yeah, I'm sorry, you're right. It's 195 with a 4-foot lightning rod. Ordinances differ. Your ordinance counts the total height, including the lightning rod, so it's 195 plus a 4-foot lightning rod on top. Because it's measured to the tallest appurtenance.
It'll be pretty much the same tower that's on Plywood Trail.
I'm not personally familiar with that one. Dietrich may answer that.
And I think Power Trail has a light on it because of the Apple
I mean, and if you're around airports and military bases, you may have to end up lighting it. You may have to even end up painting it they call it visibility orange and white, alternating if you're that close to an airport, but that's not the case here.
So they guarantee it won't be lit?
I mean, it's below 200, the way the
Who
rules are.
decides that?
The FAA.
Okay.
The FAA has that control, and if the FAA comes and changes their rules, and we have to, we will. But right now, the rules are we don't. So I can't anticipate how the laws will change later. But given this location and what's nearby, it's highly unlikely. Because that's something more, we don't want it either, because it's something more we have to maintain and be concerned about in the event a light goes out, and we've got to get that taken care of. And the airport officials are really quick to get on it if the light goes out.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I'll be glad to answer any questions at all you may have.
I think we're good.
Okay. Thank y'all very much. I appreciate the time.
So we ready to vote on that?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Since this was tabled and Verizon's had their opportunity to do their rebuttal, shouldn't the opposition have the same?
Mr. Chair, I think that's the discretion of the chair. To the committee, they would like opportunity for rebuttal. Mr. Real Point, Verizon did have opportunity to come back.
Explain rebuttal, what you get mad as far as rebuttal.
I mean, it was tabled and they had a chance to come back and plead their case. I just felt like the opposition should have their opportunity to plead their case after more research in their findings.
So you are saying to table it again?
No, sir. Could we allow opposition to speak just like Verizon might? That's all I'm asking.
Yes, be fine.
Thank you, sir.
Who's going to speak?
I guess we turn it back over to Mr. Burrows. That's proper protocol.
So I don't think it's going to be a public hearing, Mr. Chair. I think it's just opportunity to, whoever spoke at the previous public hearing, an opportunity to respond back to Mr. Wells' findings. I don't think it's not an open public hearing. Without proper advertising in the public hearing.
I'm going to make the decision that we've had our public hearing. We had questions related to questions on the tower. I don't consider what was presented as a rebuttal. I consider that information to answer our questions. And so I think we need to take the information that's been provided and Planning Commission act on it as it is.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to, make a comment that, although I am in favor of service throughout the county, in my opinion, I would like to see, another proposed site off, further off 501, to prevent another tower from being this close to 501 due to the amount of towers already in that vicinity. I'm not sure if that's something that they'd be willing to look at coming back with a different proposed site, but I mean, that's my opinion.
Anybody else got any more comments from the planning commission?
In fairness, I'm new. I haven't heard the opposition to this tower, so to his point, not all of us have heard the negatives.
They're all in your board minutes.
Right.
So is the commission ready to vote?
Okay.
Mr. Hughes, that's in your
I move that we do not recommend to the board of supervisors the conditional use permit for the Verizon Tower on Credit Creek Road.
Is there a second, Mr. Hughes' motion?
I'll second.
We got a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion from the commission? Hearing none, I believe we're ready for a vote. We probably need a roll call first.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Chair Brawls,
Yes.
Commissioner Pierce,
Yes.
Vice Chair Jennings,
Yes.
Commissioner Watts,
Yes.
Commissioner Beard,
Yes.
Commissioner Wimbush,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith-Nagy. Yes. Motion passes 8-0, not to recommend.
We were at motion to adjourn. Board will proceed from.
Do I hear a motion for the commission, the planning commission to adjourn?
So moved.
We have a second?
Yeah.
All in favor of adjourning at this time, say aye. Thank you guys for your attention.